All right, y'all. Welcome to another episode of Mornings with Movers. We are killing it with these number of episodes. We got to get you guys feedback though, because you guys feedback make us, come up with more and more gems that we could be dropping. But again, I'm Dwyght with Max Moving Training. We got Ryan Marsh, the expert in the building. He do
No,
everything, y'all. He'll tell you. I can't tell his story. So
no
Ryan,
expert here, man. No damn expert. I just like chopping up with you on the podcast every Thursday.
So, yeah, everything has been on my end. Everything has been good. Got fatherly duties that'll keep you up at night. But I was good. I was good. So, but no. So today, guys, we're gonna go over the topic of combating no call, no shows. Right now, I know we're going into the weaker side of the industry year for movers. So, the next couple of months or a few months is going to be ideally slow. A guy that I know that's out in Florida actually was, kind of confused by this anyways, because he's like, hey, we're in a state that's always hot. How do we have a slow season? And I can't put my finger on it. Maybe it's because it's more of a shopping season than a moving season because people would rather get gifts than actually be moving during this time. Maybe, maybe. What do you think, Ryan, with regards to that for those hotter states?
To be honest with you, man, I was just jotting something down, so I didn't hear a damn thing you just said. So, not even gonna lie to you, I was just thinking of never mind. But can you say it again? I'm so sorry, dude.
You're
Kind of
good.
completely like zoned out. It's Thursday. I'm off tomorrow. I got some traveling late tonight to do for some personal things, so my mind is just, but my bad. I'll be focused from here on out.
Okay, okay. He's like just like a little child, just all distracted.
ADHD, man. It's like squirrel. Here I go.
But no, so I was saying, so with the hotter states in the South, why do you think that, what do you think is influencing the slower part of the year for them? Because they're always hot, they unlike northern states.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just simply put, saying like, hey, warm states should be busy all year round, where the Northeast gets cold in the winter, business shuts down. So basically, if the sun is shining, the weather's hot, moving companies should be busy. Is that kind of the
But
take, or are you saying like
that
hot
that
as in people are flocking to Florida?
that's my thought as far as like heat wise, temperature wise, that if it's like in the summer for New York, hey, if it's summer, we busy. But if it's winter, we slow because naturally snow.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some sort of impact with that, but I still don't see it as being like. I mean, I know movers that are in California, right? Beautiful out in California. They're deader than doornails, right? But I know people that are in Minnesota, North Dakota that are moving their butts off. So I don't want to equate, peak and non-peak, sort of say when it comes to hot and cold. I'm sure. I mean, yeah, I prefer to move in the summertime. I'm sure probably the crew would probably prefer to work in the sun rather than negative 10 degrees like it is up here in the Northeast half the time.
Hmm.
But no, I mean, I, honestly, man, argument can be made either way, but I don't. I'd have to see kind of what the data is on that, and I'm just not seeing it.
Hey everybody, my name is Dwyght Mack with Mack's Moving Training. So we're gonna be doing a move and a pack today. But before we go in, there's just 10 basic rules that we just need to know before participating with this service. So number one, understand moving is a very, very stressful thing. The customer, they're uplifting their life from one location to another. They're having to call all these vendors and get all these suppliers in place so that basically they can make that transition. So their stress level is at the highest right now. We need to be a service provider that comes in and basically keep that stress level mitigated or very low. Come in as professionals and do our job the way we know how to do our job so that this customer is less stress during that move process. Number two, be on time. First impression is everything. You guys showing up outside of the window rubs the customer the wrong way. It messes up the rest of the move process. Even if you guys do the best job y'all can do, because one thing was off, this customer's mood is just off. Go up and beyond, be there before the time, as long as they're okay with it.
Oh, you're not seeing the correlation?
I'm just trying to think. Like, you look at the past summer, though, past couple summers in the Northeast, wherever it's warm, beautiful, moving companies were typically a lot slower. Interest rates high, people not moving. There's still that kind of work from home initiative, so people aren't really flocking too far or doing that much. Um, I also think, schooling, especially if there's kids involved. Of course, that's why summertime typically it's warmer in the entire country. Kids are out of school. That's when typically people or families typically move, unless they are forced to move, mid-school year or something like that. But I don't know, man. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, I definitely felt like I burnt a lot of marketing dollars during the non-busy season because it was like you're almost throwing darts at a wall. You know what was working, but it isn't working as effective in the slow season. So you're like, what else could we be implementing? Can we do snow removal? Can we do something? And then when you figure out what the insurance cost is to add that onto your policy, it's ridiculous. You're like, how much? I'm only going to be doing it for like 12 weeks, possibly.
Well, I mean, that's it, man. I always tie it back into diversification, right? That's where the more lines that you can work with and take some chunks out of, the better chance that you're not going to have that seasonality. All those lines have their Christmas season, as we've said on this podcast quite a few times. We know household is going to be in Q2, but what are y'all doing solving for Q1, Q3, and Q4? That's a question I ask. I feel like every moving company that I chat with is, we know Q2 is going to be busy. It's peak season. It's been that way for a long, long time. But
Hmm.
what are y'all doing outside of that?
Yeah, I think
Waiting for that phone to ring, or are you going out and getting it? I guess that's
yeah.
are you an order taker or are you a hunter and gatherer at this point? Because I still feel, you know, phones aren't going to be ringing like crazy off the hook in 2025. I feel like 2025 is going to go back to normal, like pre-COVID normal, right? So not this crazy, like it was during COVID, phones ringing off the hook, not enough capacity to cover anything. There's more moves than there is moving companies. Now I feel like we're at a point where there's more moving companies than there are moves, is what it feels like at some points. Um, but I feel like it will get back to normal. I would say, especially with the interest rates starting to drop down a little bit. Obviously, I don't like to bring politics into anything. I'm not a political person whatsoever, but typically, anytime there's a change in leadership as well, you start seeing movement in multiple different directions, whether it be good or bad. So I think 2025 is going to be a good year for a lot of companies, and I think for other companies, I think it's going to be a little tough as well. So just
Well, you
depends
heard it
on.
here from Ryan the man, the myth,
I wouldn't
2025.
expect some, I keep hearing like there's going to be this massive spike and things are going to fall off the chains. I would love for that. I'd love to see everybody at max capacity all throughout the year. I just don't think that's realistic. Um, I think we're going to get back into the tones of, 2019, 2020, you know, that type of year again is what
Okay.
I think. But
Okay.
again, I'm no economist, man. I'm just on Dwight's podcast.
So, all right, yeah. So let's get to the topic. So again, we all know how stressful and disruptive no call, no shows can be for our operations. It's not just an inconvenience, it's an impact on our reputation, customer satisfaction, and ultimately our bottom line. But fear not. Here's we got 5 tips on what you guys can be doing to levy these no call, no shows from these movers who choose not to show up last minute. They wake up in the morning, 7 o'clock. Hey, boss, can't be there, knowing that you got a full day. So yes, the easy way out is, well, that guy is fired. But is it productive firing everybody and rehiring? No, because rehiring takes time. You got to vet. You got to make sure these guys and those that do background checks, you got to make sure these guys aren't just somebody that you can just fill a seat and then be able to send them to somebody's house and hope that there's no theft or liabilities or whatever you want to call it. So it's a process. So implementing these 5 steps that me and Ryan's going to go over today is going to definitely be crucial to making sure that you guys are prepared, whether it's a slow season because you guys don't have enough work, or whether you're going into the busy season, this just becomes more effective during that time. Um, so Ryan,
Before you touch on those, um, this is an issue that our company struggled with a lot, and I'm sure you struggle with it. I'm sure, again, great topic for this week. I'm sure there's a lot of companies struggling, but I always used to put the onus on the guys. Like, why is Dwight calling it? Oh my gosh, get fired. Whose fault is it? that the guys are calling in? And I know I'm probably gonna take a lot of shit on this one, but is it the guy's fault? Like, of course, right? You have a job, you should show up, whatever the case is, but is it them or is it you? When I say
Mm.
you, is it the moving company? What culture do you guys have created? Like, what does that look like? Do you foster a really badass culture where everybody feels included, their voices and opinions are heard, or, you know, I always used to think of our crew members as, kind of a bit, I don't use the term jaded, but they were used. Our guys were used. Like, when I need you, I need you. You better be there. Right? I'm putting you on back to back 10, 12, 13, 14-hour days. I need you, Dwight.
Mm.
But guess what? When the business wasn't there, I didn't need Dwight. So I didn't care about Dwight. Dwight wasn't working that day. I that always kind of stuck with me. Is it profit over people or people over profit? So, you know, you dive right into this, man, because this one definitely rings sits home and rings a bell with me. I'll tell you.
Okay.
Number three, make sure your team is in uniform, they're groomed, their hygiene is checked, because that's the worst thing you could do, especially going in a house. Customer could smell your guy from a mile away, and now, again, their mood is just thrown off. So make sure that you guys are in uniform, you're tight, you have uniform shirts, that it doesn't look like, you have a laborer that's, hired from off the street. Presentation is everything that goes towards your first impression. Number four, introduce both you and your partner when greeting the customer. Don't just go to the door by yourself, while your driver is unloading the truck, and introduce yourself. Actually have both of you there. Introduce yourself first, then introduce your partner second, and then, allow them to welcome you into their home.
Okay. Well, let's dive
I
in,
get fired
y'all.
up over this one.
All right. So, step one, advanced scheduling. Make it a standard practice to schedule your movers at least 48 hours in advance. This not only gives them ample notice, but also helps them plan their personal schedule around work, reducing the chance of last minute dropouts. So, some people like to schedule 24 hours. They'll send text guys, hey, tomorrow you guys got work. Or they'll send it while they're in the middle of a job. Hey guys, you got work tomorrow. You got to do a whole double tomorrow. In which obviously for those that don't know, doubles is two jobs back to back. And they getting this within 24-hour notice. Or there's been some companies that I've seen horrifyingly um, tell all their guys to show up the next day. Just show up. Either you'll work or you won't work. And that none of that works because these guys have a personal life. And regardless if you say, well, hey, well, they know they're full time, they're not full time. Because unless you're one of those magical van line companies or one of those big companies that absolutely work is blowing out of the ceiling for you, um,
Right?
they're not full time. So 48 hours for us worked perfectly because, hey, you know what? We'll send a text. Today's what, Thursday? So we'll send a text out Saturday. Hey guys, you're working Saturday. Then we'll send them a reminder text. Hey guys, you tomorrow. Hey guys, remember you're working Saturday. As well as we'll send a new text. Hey, you're working Sunday. And this kind of gives them that notice to say, oh, let me check my schedule for Saturday. Oh, snap, I can't make it. So they're either going to let you know on a 48-hour notice that they can't make it for whatever reason, or they're going to let you know on a 24-hour notice. But anything within 24 hours, that's where you can have a policy in place where it's like, hey guys, I gave you 48 hours, give us at least 24 hours to try to find a replacement. But I guess if you want to hit on that a little bit, Ryan.
No, I mean, we used to use the term kind of smart scheduling, right? We always now old moving company, we text our guys at 4:30, 4:20 to 4:30 every night for the night before, just telling them that they're working. Didn't even tell them what the hell they were doing. So just imagine that. I look back at this, I'm like, man, how broken were we? Our guys who want to work, who need the money, they've got families to provide for, just like we do, right? Don't even know if they're working until basically 4:30 that same night.
Mm.
Then on top of that, what are they doing? Are they in the warehouse? Are they in a 10,000 pound local? Are they going out of town for 2 days? Like, what the hell? So we try to schedule these guys in advance as much as possible. Let them know, hey, you know what? Next week, you've got 2 days of, two back-to-back 7,000-pound local moves. Monday, Tuesday is going to be a little tough. Wednesday, I got you in the warehouse working. We got a couple international shipments coming in just to kind of cool you down, make it ease back into the week. Thursday, I've got you going here. Friday here. How's that look? We're
Mhm.
very transparent with our guys and our crews on that. And I think part of that smart scheduling is knowing that. And I think where our guys get a lot of call offs is I put Dwyght on back-to-back 10,000-pound local moves.
Mm.
Dwyght is dead. So you think Dwight's going to show up Wednesday all chippery, or is if you get Dwyght out of bed because Dwight's got a newborn, so he's probably been up all damn night, just had back-to-back 10, 11, 12-hour days. Like, are we doing our guys justice? Again, back to how you treating those guys, man. People over
So,
profit or profit over people.
so that brings me down to the next topic, where it's kind of like when people define the teams as A team, B team, C team, and they want to make sure that their A team is on the top jobs every day. So that kind of rehashes what you're saying about putting a person on a 10,000 pound job, because they want their best crew on that job every day, and then they levy it down from team B to team C to hopefully team D if they got enough staff. That I think when it comes to scheduling, that you guys have to foresee the schedule in advance. You typically know your schedule internally for a week. And if you know your schedule for a week, you got to kind of know, okay, well, this first job on Monday is projected for 7 hours. I got my A team on that job. The next day there is a big job, but there's two big jobs. There's one 6 hour, there's one a 5 hour job. Could I put my A team on that 5 hour job, being that the 7 hour job might be an 8 or 9 hour job today? And kind of like forecast, project. Okay, you know what? That 18 might say, boss, we're energized. It's Sunday. We had off Sunday. We're ready to go for the week. And then something happens. Somebody gets hurt or whatever the case is. And you already projected that everybody's going on a big job all this week. Now you're in a hurting spot, because you got to like, okay, well, I got to take somebody off this A team and place them with a C team person, because C team don't have enough work. But now that A team becomes a B team because they're not used to working with their regular staff. So it's something that you want to definitely forecast and make sure that the hours are allocated properly, so that basically you're not to overwhelm your guys and their physical well-being.
Look at the hours. Run a quick report. You got guys in the summertime working 60 hours and guys working 20 hours. But back to your point about and this is where I struggle a little bit. And we were a C plus team, right? We didn't have a lot of A players at all. So it was challenging for us. But what I would say is, kind of the sports, I come from the sports side of the house. Every day to me is like, it's a championship game. So as a moving company owner, I don't know, I kind of struggle with, I'm going to put my C team out there today. I'm going to put my B team. Why not have all A teams? Back to training, right?
Mhm.
Doing it, which that's a whole another category, but never like putting a C team on any job. My C team would probably be in the warehouse. To be honest with you, easier said than done too, right? But I think that all locks in with basically the cultural piece, how you treating your guys, buy-in, and who do you have on your team? We don't want C players anymore. For the longest
Mhm.
time, we did we did well with C players, but at what point do you turn that notch up? Like, I'm tired of being a C plus company. Give me
Yeah.
at least a B minus or an A.
So I correlate that with college, like when I play college football games. Um, and basically you could see the caliber of all of your coaches. So sometimes your caliber of your coaches, like your offensive coordinator might be like a C plus, but your defense coordinator might be a B plus. But overall, maybe you're an A as a leader. And because the overall caliber of all your coaches, including yourself, is really an average of a straight B or maybe a B minus, um, that's where you are, because you're being dragged down. So
And you
ultimately,
divide some of your B's and C's into A teams. So you've got two A guys plus a C player. You got two B guys in a C, or one A, one B, one C. What would that look like? I wonder. I just know if,
yeah,
you know,
it'll definitely bring the caliber of the team down,
typically
but
you
not that
jump
much.
up to playing a better team, what typically happens? You play typically better ball.
Yeah,
Anytime, at least for me, anytime I was playing somebody that was better than me, equal to talent or whatever, I always seemed like my game was elevated. When I played down talent, I played at their level. So to me, you put three C guys out there, what are you expecting? You're gonna get that C minus, right?
Uh-huh. Hey, that
But you
means
put
C equal claims.
yeah. But also again, back to having a rating sheet for your guys, a scorecard, right? We rated the guys green, yellow, red. If you're green, you're good. You're getting the good jobs, good tipping jobs, the high paying jobs, all that stuff. If you're yellow because you've had claims, you showed up late two times, you didn't show up in uniform, well, guess what? You're not getting the best jobs. And you got 2 weeks to get back up in green. Otherwise, you're in red. Red's not good. Red means you're 1 week or 2 weeks away from getting let go. But having a performance card for your team, I think, is critical. Um, there's a company that does it really, really well. Works Moving and Storage does it extremely well. They took it to the next level of what we have. Um, so shout out and kudos to those guys. But back to the analogy of the sports piece, like to me, it was all a game, right? But if you're not keeping score, how do you know if you're winning? Do your C players know they're C players? And what does it take to become an A player? It might be just small things, patting the legs of the furniture, showing up on time, wearing your damn uniform. It might be those three things that put them from a C to an A. Or it could be way worse, right? It could be way worse than that.
Now, the one thing to figure out, guys, is not paying your guys more is not gonna fix the issue. So that's only gonna cause future problems. And I say that because I have a client of mine who said that basically their drivers was getting paid $34 an hour to make sure that they're doing a job right. Oh, they're making sure the paperwork is filled out properly. They're making sure that this is done. They're making sure this is their job. So, paying them that much, and then things went wrong. Paperwork wasn't filled out. So now he's blowing his top. Oh man, what do you mean? I'm paying you all this money and you can't make sure the bill laying is filled out at the end of the job? Like, what's going on? And it does nothing. You thought money was going to fix the issue by paying them more, that they were going to take more responsibility, but no, they molded to the money. They felt like they were worth the money to do the same job as the person that was $22 an hour.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Performance-based pay.
Uh-huh.
Performance-based pay is where it's at,
Exactly. So,
right? You're
and
not
we'll
getting
talk.
$34 an hour, but you can earn up to $50 an hour if you hit these metrics, you hit these marks. There you go. But
Yeah, we'll do a blog on a mover bonus system as well in the future, so you guys can check it out. Some ideas to incentivizing your guys for doing a great job on the job, and it's temporary. It's based on, like Ryan said, performance. So we'll have a Max Moving Training and have an article out about that real soon. So just keep an eye out. All right. So step number two. Mandatory communication policy. Implement a strict policy requiring movers to inform the office as soon as they know they can't make a shift. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Clear communication is key to managing expectations and arranging for backups. So, yeah, it's all about communication. What type of line of communication do you guys have in your organization? How big is your organization, and who is the players that these people need to communicate with? And are these people are they I've had some managers that were very strict, that had no give in their bones. And they were like, well, why does guy call out? You know what? He don't know how to show up to work. I'm just not going to schedule him for future work. No, people have lives. Like, understand that they're telling you in advance that they have something to come up, and that, again, they're not full-time employees. They're really part-time employees on a what do you call this? Type of schedule. It's not pay as you go. It's weird. It's one of those basically by job type. If there's no job on Tuesday, then they're not working. If there's no job on Wednesday, they're not working. So because they're on that type of routine schedule, you got to give these guys some leeway because they didn't know they were working.
I we once came from a culture, man, and it's fun to look back and talk about this now, but specifically, I had the conversation with the GM of an organization. He's like, "You're not going to believe it. So and so needs Wednesday afternoon off because he's got to take his kid to his doctor's appointment at 3 o'clock. Why can't he wait till after work hours and go at 5 or 6?" And I'm just like, and he was seriously like bitching about this. I'm just
Hmm.
like, "Hey, who schedules doctor's appointments at 6, 7 o'clock at night? What office is open? Right?
Hmm.
Your people are taking care of their kids. They've got shit to do. You leave at noon and take care of your kid. That's okay. but our guys can't do that. No, you got to take care of your people, man.
Yeah. And
All about that communication.
I had a situation where now I had an issue where a guy couldn't work on Sundays because he goes to church on Sundays. And I was told, hey, well, it's corporate. It doesn't matter. They need to work. And I'm just like, I thought there was some thing in at some point where it was like if it's a religious thing that you kind of respect that in a sense. But
He can go say his prayers and get back on the truck. No,
so
but there's a new way. I mean, another people think we were crazy too, man. But like opening up the schedule, and obviously a lot of your CRMs can do this at this point, but allowing the guys to pick the hours and the days that they can work based on their time.
oh, that sounds
Right?
like a nightmare.
You would think, you would think, but before we never used to do a lot of weekend jobs, like hardly ever, Monday through Friday, right? Because if the office wasn't in, we weren't having guys run amok out there. Not that we didn't trust them, but hey, what if something goes wrong? I'm gone. GMs, everybody's out of the office. How do you finish that, right?
Mhm.
So it was interesting by allowing the guys to pick the days that they can work. We had guys picking 7 days a week because they wanted that money. We had other guys that were picking, hey, Monday through just Friday, or 3 weeks out, they were putting, hey, I can't work from noon on this day because I have a doctor's appointment, or I have to go here, or I'm switching apartments, or whatever the hell the case was. I got take my car in for service. So by us opening up the schedule and having the guys basically, hey, put when you can't work. Obviously, you got to track this, what you can in your CRM, but the guys tended to care more, and we had a greater outlook into their schedules of what works and what doesn't work for them. So it's a two-way street. Again, back to that. When I need you, I need you. When I don't, I don't.
So
Is that how you're operating today?
I would do that. I would preferably do that on a day versus um like set hours in a day because that obviously you have to schedule for your company. And if one day you're having six jobs with three crews, you need those guys to be able to do both jobs. So if you like, oh well, what is your schedule limitations? Well, I can't work after 3 o'clock. Well, that's not conducive because maybe a crew can work, your other guys can work longer than that. But now that means I have to short the job in the afternoon. Oh, well, three guys start the morning and two guys do the afternoon job. And then I expect them to be in tomorrow to do another two or three man job. It's a lot.
Yeah.
But if it was easy, everybody would be doing it, they say.
The longer you can plan, the deeper you can schedule, the better off you'll be. But I just know
Mhm.
if you looked at your guys, if you're having a ton of call outs right now, that's what you got to look at yourself in the mirror. Like, what am I doing wrong?
Mhm.
Why? Imagine working for a company where you didn't want to go to work in the morning, where you no called and no showed. Is
Yeah.
that the person or is that the company? Now, if you switch some things within the company and that person continues to call off, it's probably the person, right? If you go ahead and you're not putting them on back to back to back to back back breaking jobs and they're still calling in, if you're massaging their schedule to fit yours and yours fits theirs and they're still calling off, that's the person. Get rid of them. But you know,
Mhm.
we checked ourselves first. And we didn't do that for the longest time though. So we had a lot of call outs at one point.
Yeah, we
Every
did
week.
too. And I think we got in the later years, we definitely got a lot better with it, which leads me into topic number three. Always have backups. Even if everyone has confirmed, prepare for the unexpected, having a few extra hands on deck or a list of on-call replacements can save the day when someone is inevitably falls through. I didn't care who it was. Obviously my best 18 guys, say, hey, we're gonna be there tomorrow, boss. We're ready to get this working. Ah, trust only goes but so far because I've been burnt way too many times where even my best guys they overslept or they just something came up and they couldn't make it. And it's to that point where it's like, oh well, maybe those weren't your best guys. No, they were really great guys. It just thing life it's lifing.
Yep.
So with that being said, we always if we had a three-guy crew going out, we had a fourth guy come in. And if that fourth guy didn't have to work that day, we decided, hey, you know what? We'll pay you for your time to come that you came in today. We'll pay you 2 hour minimum. Yes, it would mess up. It would have my payroll numbers higher because it's technically 2 hours of unbillable time. But it will reassure me that hey, if somebody didn't show up, we had that guy that was there. And the way we organized our teams were we had position wise, we had a driver assistant, and two helpers. The driver assistant was likely going to be the person that was on backup in most cases, because if a driver didn't show, the driver assistant was now a replacement driver. Or if a mover didn't show, that driver assistant was a replacement for that mover. And they would be middle tier pay out of the crew because they were a hybrid worker. And that worked out great. You know, we got a lot of guys like, oh, I gotta take the bus there, and I don't know, you guys don't know if I'm working. I need guaranteed work, blah blah blah. But you're gonna get that. But then they also realize that they're still getting paid just to show up for even whether it's 30 minutes or whatever the case is, they're still getting paid.
This is hard for me to speak. We pulled from the warehouse. We always had two, three guys in the warehouse capable of driving a truck, capable of moving, capable of packing. So if we did have somebody wakes up in the morning, gets sick, I could pull Dylan out of the warehouse, pull John out of the warehouse, pull Tom out of the warehouse. Now it might screw the warehouse crew that day, but ultimately the forward facing customer was not having three guys instead of four or two instead of three or whatever the case was. But I think the other thing too is pushing, like, it's guys are going to call off, guys are going to get sick, shit's going to happen, they're going to fight with their wives, girlfriends, husbands, whatever the case may be. Our thing was like if you're not coming to work in the morning, typically if you're going to call in the morning, you're going to bang in, the night before, unless you wake up and you're actually sick and you weren't planning on that. So our thing was like, hey, no judgment. Give us a notice. Let us know at 5, 6, 7 o'clock, even 10 o'clock at night, because I can make the adjustments tonight from my phone or my laptop or my iPad and inform people, hey, I got to make these adjustments rather than have to do it at 7:15 in the morning.
Yeah.
But, we get back to the culture piece. Our guys weren't scared to say, "Hey, Ryan, I can't come into work today or tomorrow, I should say."
Yep, and that's just basically having an open door policy, guys. Like, obviously, you guys can't be.
You're not going to punish them. You can't. Why would you punish somebody? How many doctor's appointments I forget for my kid? Like literally, wife would be like, "Hey, you coming?" I'm like, "What do you mean coming?" 3 o'clock. We got to take him. We got to go get a PET scan. I'm like, "What?" I told you last week, and it's like, "Oh man, shoot." I'd have no issue being like, "Hey, Bo. Hey, Dean. Hey, whatever. Man, I got to dip for a little bit. I totally forgot about this appointment. You gonna punish me for that? Or, yeah, it's my fault. Should have had it in my GCal, but I didn't. you
Mhm.
know?
Now,
So,
moving unlike retail, we do got to take that into consideration. Moving unlike retail pretty much has guaranteed hours for the most part. We're moving everybody, customers aren't as flexible when they need to move, because whether they're turning their utilities off that same day or whatever the case is, sometimes they're just not flexible. So, you know, sadly, there's been times where if it was a three-man job or a four-man job and I had to send out three guys, we just have to do it because we just don't have anybody extra. But, the movers do have to understand that basically, hey, if we schedule you guys 48 hours in advance, we're not scheduling you guys just to schedule you guys because we like you. We're scheduling you because, hey, we got work for you and that we need you to be here for that job. And that's why I was always kind of scared to max out my resources. So I had 20 guys, but with 20 guys, let's just say that's you do about four to five, well, five crews approximately. So I would probably schedule four jobs in a day, leaving that extra crew, whether they either had the day off or those were the guys that was on backup. Because people are like, oh, you're not maximizing your resources, you're not taking full opportunity. Full opportunity will get you in trouble. That sounds greedy. So I never want to be in a position where I just didn't have a crew, at least a full a standard crew to go
yeah.
out and do a job.
No, man, no doubt. Yeah, nothing worse than having to call a customer and be like, I ain't got nobody.
Oh, it's been that way once or twice that I can remember that, where we
That's
was
where I'm getting on the
like,
truck. That's where myself, dispatcher, operations manager, all three of us are going to complete that local move that day. I'm not happy about it. Nobody's happy about it, but guess what? Got to get done.
oh, Ryan, you're the top dog. You don't go in the field.
Yes, I do. I was always in the field. I love the field. I always told those guys, man, like there was nothing better than when I could actually turn off all the office stuff, all the planning, preparing, but turn that segment off and go in and just do the labor intensive work was some of my best days in the moving industry. But the only
Oh
problem is I
man.
get halfway through the day and I'm like, my phone, I got 39 emails, 17 phone calls, 32 texts. I'm just like, man, when I get done with this, like, there's no turning it off, right? I think that's the other thing too is, when you're doing that labor intensive piece, like when you're done with your job that day, when you complete that local, you're done. No, I go
Mhm.
finish that local. I'm not done. I got 11 quotes to go. I got three virtuals to review. I got emails, calls to respond to, but there
You
was
got
nothing better,
homework.
man, than jumping in the field. I know like jumping in the field, aka was like checking my work. How accurate was I? Going off my notes, my this, my that. Did I do our guys justice? And basically, did I tell them everything they needed to do? Did I put all the equipment that we needed? And there were many times I'm like, damn it, I forgot about this. And I broke my back that day because I missed a couple notes. So to me, it was just a way to check my work.
Yeah, and obviously, as you guys, as owners, you already know. Once you got off that truck, you was going back to your home or your office to do payroll or to do, future scheduling. Like there are CRMs that do future texting, which we were happy when we got with Move It Pro. I'll say it and say who they are. We was happy when we got with Move It Pro because they sent out automated text messages to our crews. And when we were with Movegistics way back in the past, they sent out emails as well as text messages. So it was like extremely helpful because we had a manual process prior to that time, and probably even after that time where we were sending text messages from our office phones.
Yeah. It's,
And
it's nice to be able to hit that button on your CRM, send
uh,
text, job details, everything to the crew, and then God forbid somebody calls off. You're not erasing boards. You're just checking off Dwight, adding Ryan, and then sending text to Ryan. Boom,
yeah,
done. Yeah, that's game changer.
simplify the process because basically, like I said, when we were sending it from our office phone, like we did it from like an extension. So our office phone had an app. Every in the app, every line had an extension. So you can send it. So we will say, hey, line, extension 202 is going to be our dispatch line. So if crews need to text us, they're going to text back on this extension. Whoever's tied to this extension, whether it's me, operations, whomever, they're going to see all the texts from the crews. They're going to send all the texts that go out. So if I see my dispatcher going to send a text for the day and it's 5 o'clock, I'm like, geez, what's going on? I can send that text right out. And the guys will respond and say, "Oh, whether I can't make it or I can make it," and we both kind of see it. Or if there's any conflicts, everybody can report to that extension. But it was chaos because if you didn't send a text message out and the guys didn't know they're working, now you're looking for them the next day. You're like, "Oh, what happened?" Dispatcher's like, "Oh, I totally forgot."
I forgot to send that text. It's eliminating all these manual processes, man. How do you
Hmm.
streamline and automate that stuff so you're not forgetting? That's uh that's the name of the game.
All right, so step four, y'all. Continuous recruitment. The moving industry is a dynamic and your workforce should be too. Continuously hiring ensures you have a robust pool of movers to cover shifts, reducing strain on your core team and mitigating no-shows. So again, it goes back to having enough guys to do backups, or it goes to, making sure that you always got a revolving door. These movers will quit on you without notice. There's no, oh, let me give you a 2 week notice. Oh, well, we found a better job. We found more stability. Oh, you know what? I'm not really liking the guys that I'm working with, and don't even give you the chance to resolve the matter. They just say, you know what? I'm done. And now you're like, God damn, I had a full week. You know,
Yeah, no, nobody quits in the wintertime. It's always during peak, I feel like it too.
like I think I done had like 20 some guys make it through the winter. And I'm like, oh, these guys are loyal. If they can make it through here with all the stress that they was adding on me, because boss, we ain't got no work, we ain't got no work. All right, guys, I'm gonna try to do what I can, get you some work. And then we get to the summertime, guys, it's
It's
that
too
time
much
of the
work.
year.
Yeah, it's too much work now.
And next
No,
thing
I can say that
they,
you,
they
you
quitting and
always got to be
everything.
on the lookout for talent. Always.
Mhm.
It's not to me searching for talent's not seasonal. I know a lot of folks right before peak season they try to ramp up talent. And they try to find. It's like it's a it's a 12 month a year piece, and we used to take any breathable body that came through that door. If you were breathing and on 2 feet, you probably had a job. And that was not the best way, right? We had guys lasting a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 days. So we started basically kind of putting some bonuses on, hey, Dwight's our A team player. or a C plus, depending on what day. Um, if you bring somebody in, they're there for 3 months, you get X. They make it 6 months, you get Y. They make it a year, Dwight gets paid again. So we found kind of that internal referral, whether it's family, friends, or whatever. When those folks came in, they tended to stick around and they tend to be A players. Because if Dwight reaches out to Ryan, I'm Dwight's good friend. Hey man, there's a position open up, man. I'd love to have you come work on the crew. What are the chances you think I'm gonna let Dwight down? Or what do you think the chance that Dwight's gonna bring on someone that's going to call in, no, you're not going to do that because your reputation's on the line, right? So paying our guys to also assist with bringing in talent was huge for us to grow and scale our labor pool.
Yeah, and we for some hitting on what Ryan just mentioned, we did something where we did a called what is it called? It was like a mover bonus, but basically when they brought somebody on, they would if the person stayed with them for 6 months, they would get $100 for having them around. And I know it don't sound like much, but it's still money. And then if
You
they
cheat,
I know, but
cheat.
we was broke out in these streets, but now so then if they stayed on for a year, we would get them an extra $100. But so we kind of like made it sound like, well, hey, you brought five friends on, you make about an extra $1,000 for that year, and it kind of like that's kind of what we had in place or whatever cases because these guys they definitely took advantage of it, and every month again we had incentives for people who had great who had the most five-star reviews and stuff like that. So it was always ways that we were able to give money back, but you also got to manage every dollar that goes out. Remember, you got sales commissions you guys got to pay as well. So you got to kind of got to regulate how much money you're really giving out because your margins are already low after a job. You at least have 40 to 45% after that job is completed. And that's just your COGS. We're not talking about your cost of goods, people in the office that book that move. If you're working with an outside sales team. So if you're working with an outside sales team, let's throw that in there as well, because we had that topic when Yuri was on. And so think about it. You're at 45% COGS with just your movers, trucks, fuel, etc. And then you hire an outside sales team and you're at another 12 to 15%. So you're already at 60% expense. So that other 40% is going to your general expenses, going to its maybe even your payroll taxes and stuff like that. So you guys got to regulate how much money y'all giving out in bonuses to incentivize guys to do the job that they were already hired to do. I don't know.
$100. I'm
So
hung up on $100, man.
that's all
You
he
tell me
had.
I bring you some top talent. They're there for 6 months. They're crushing it. I'm gonna get $100 Dunkin' Donuts card from Dwight. I can't.
It could be in your check if you want it. No, but no. Yeah. So, well, I can't take it back now. But what were some things you guys did?
For the retention
Yeah.
and hiring, literally just that stop chasing talent, I would say, or stop chasing non-talent. And we look at little things, right? Like you go to banks, bank tellers, right? You know what bank tellers are making. So we had two banks that we dealt with, and I tell you, we were able to, I hate to use the word poach, but from creating a relationship with our bank teller every time that we go in to make deposits, wherever the case was. She was bubbly, she was great, she was personable. Now she doesn't know the moving industry, but that's okay. We can teach it. We know that she was making minimum wage, right? Or just a buck over a minute. I think she was making like 16 and change. So we could bring her on, talk about what we do, this, that, be the bubbly person on the phone. So we were always looking for talent for one. And looking in places and spaces that was outside the moving industry. Because I always oftentimes feel like you see people posting, I'm looking for an all-star packer. Must be able to pack a dish pack of this, a mirror cart. And it's like, people don't go to college and shit to become a mover. Whatever. Like, there's not a labor pool of packers and laborers. Like, find
Not
somebody that's
yet.
got a good attitude, puts forth great effort. We can teach them the basic moving industry. I feel like sometimes we overcomplicate this industry. Like, oh, you got to be a mover to do it. No, you got to know how to pick up a box and deal with a customer. Again, I'm probably making that sound super simple, not trying to be offensive by any means, but you know, look outside the standard labor pool, I would say. Look outside the industry to find some really, really good labor and use your people to find good people and pay them more than $100. If they bring a good person in and they last 6 months, yeah, I mean, at least $300. I mean, come on.
Woo.
But I mean, just say how much you think that $300 is expensive, right? Sounds kind of expensive, but imagine bringing it, doing interviews with 10 people. You bring in three of them, all in onboarding time, the training you put in a week later, 2 weeks later, they're gone.
True.
Replicate that times three, four people because you're blowing through 10 to try to find one. How
Mhm.
much money have you spent as an organization there
And
on
that's that.
training, onboarding, pay all that?
And
300 bucks doesn't sound so expensive anymore.
weirdly, that's that intangible cost, but I think it does show up on your payroll. But it's basically how they say that basically for the first, I don't know, 100 hours or whatever the payroll company say, that one employee is the most expensive employee. And then after the 100 hours, and this is just an example, after the first 100 hours, that employee is they become less expensive to have. So I heard that a lot from payroll companies. I never really seen it. I feel like in a dollar figure, but that's why they say it's costly to keep hiring people because it's so expensive to have them.
Yeah. So they said that $300 don't sound too bad anymore.
Whew.
But I do actually do. I got a hard stop. I got a 945 that I totally forgot about.
All right, yeah. So,
No, you can keep going. I'm so sorry, dude. I just got a slack. You're like, where are you? I'm like, oh no.
all right, yeah. So I'm gonna finish this last tip. Ryan, we'll catch you next week. Enjoy your Christmas, everybody. Merry Christmas, and we're gonna go over this last tip, yeah.
Hit
So,
that last tip and pay more than $100. I got a tip for you. Pay more than $100 for employee that's been there for 6 months.
y'all heard
We'll
him.
see you,
Y'all
man.
heard him here. All right,
I
Ryan.
appreciate you, Dwight. We'll see you, dude.
All right. So the last tip, y'all, fostering a positive work environment. Lastly, create a work culture that your team loves being a part of. Recognize and reward reliability and hard work. When employees feel value and part of supportive community, they're less likely to bail unannounced. Plus, a positive atmosphere encourages open communication, making it easier for your team to talk about potential attendance issues before they arise. Again, this just goes back to having a positive work culture, guys. Having an open door policy, ensuring that these guys could come talk to you, come talk to management that's maybe below you, and know that there's a give and take, and that there's not an sword, how you call it, iron sword in the room. So just make sure that you guys got you're producing an atmosphere where people can come, they can have fun, they enjoy their job. Maybe you're doing company barbecues, maybe you're doing breakfasts, whatever you got to do to just make sure that these guys really love the place they work. And if they do, they will communicate with you whenever they're not going to show up or they can't show up or whatever the case may be. So but we're gonna be cutting out. But hey, fixing no call, no show issues require a multifaceted approach. But these tips that we gave you today, these 5 tips, which were recapping, advanced scheduling, mandatory communication policy, always having backups, continuous recruitment, fostering a positive work environment. These 5 tips, and this blog can be found on my website, maxmoveandtraining.com. But these 5 tips will help ensure um, reducing your no call, no shows. So, all right, guys, it's been a pleasure. I don't see any comments, but it's been a pleasure having you guys here today. Merry Christmas again, and we will see you guys next Thursday. So keep crushing it out there, and see ya.